All right, so we are back with another FSD beta video. We're on beta 10.69.25.2, and I am going to go ahead and take us around the Antietam National Battlefield Loop, which goes through the battlefield, quick jaunt through Sharpsburg, Maryland, and then back into the battlefield, and ends up back here at the Burnside Bridge parking lot. If you have seen some of my previous videos, you know that I do this one pretty regularly because it's a good idea of, it gives you a good idea of how FSD does on both city streets, but also in some interesting situations where, in particular, this area has a lot of one-way, unmarked roads, and in past videos, FSD has had some interesting issues handling those. This first road is a regular marked two-lane road, but we also have some issues on here because it is rather narrow. So I am going to try and do this in a one-shot, pretty quick little run-through. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the GPS now, and that should give us the loop. There we go. And I'm just going to go ahead and enable FSD, and let's see what happens. So I always have my FSD set to 1 over because I have GPS verified. Oh, and we're putting a blinker on for no reason. That's new. It's never done that before. But I have GPS verified that my car runs 1 mile an hour slower, so I have it set to 1 mile an hour over. If there's another oncoming car in this particular section, we will probably slow down to a stop. I'm not sure why it does it on these narrow roads, even though it's marked in the center. It will basically come to a complete halt to allow the other car to go past. It's very unnatural, it's very confusing to the other drivers, and if you have anybody behind you, it's actually not a very good situation. So that's something that I would definitely take over and override. I wouldn't allow FSD to do that. So that was handled very well. It's probably going to stop and creep here because this bridge on the right hand side is an occluded view. You can't really see what's going on that road. I've had it creep out about halfway into the intersection before it continues on, and oh, it's confident this time. Okay, so no creeping there. Now here's where sometimes it gets very weird. This is a blind corner. I can't even see more than a couple 100 feet in front of me, so, or 100 feet maybe. But it's actually a little bit more confident than I'm used to. But we will start to see, especially in the steering wheel, you can't feel the braking, but you can see the steering wheel be kind of hectic at times. We'll start to see FSD start to do some weird things, and if you pay attention to the screen, I'll make this larger, you might start to see a phantom road over here on the left-hand side. I'm not sure why it does that. It just assumes that there's a road over there. Well, so far, it's doing a pretty good job. It's not perfect by any means. It still has a little bit of a hesitancy, but as far as the left and right, I mean, look back to one of my first videos from here. The wheel is jerking out all over the place, and I'm just slamming on the brakes and accelerating oddly, and it was very, very unnatural. It was like the first time your teenager learns to drive a stick shift car. There's the phantom road that I mentioned. I'm not sure why it's doing it. I think it has something to do with the fact that there's this stone wall to my left, but assuming that there's a road there, especially since the mapping data says there isn't, it's very strange. So this corner up here, sometimes it's been perfect, other times it damn near puts me into the bridge. So we'll be paying attention to what happens at this point. So slowing down pretty good. And perfect. Now does it dive to the left right here at this gate? No. Okay. So I have to say that from my previous video, which was, I believe, 10.69 2.1 or 2.2, something like that, which was a very good drive, from that to this, already massive improvement. I'm very impressed. Stopping back pretty far, this is a very deep intersection. Our creep line is there. It should be able to see it go, and it's going to go. And this road is 25 miles an hour, so we're not really worried about people coming up too fast. But yeah, the improvement is notable. I would say it is extremely evident that FSD is doing a much better job on those oddball roads. Now, I have been using FSD for well over a year now on the rural roads around where I live in Western Maryland, as well as in cities all over the country. I drive quite a bit. There's, I believe, 40,000 miles on my car already, and it's only, it's not even 2 years old. I've driven through 24 or 25 different U.S. states in this car, so it's been all over the place. I've used FSD along the way the entire time. I mean, obviously not on the highway, but in every city and town that I go to. And it does a good job overall. It has issues, but you know, as anybody who's used FSD would know, is it's not perfect, and it's constantly improving with the updates. I just got this 10.6.9.25.2 update, I believe it was 2 or 3 days ago. This is the first time I got a chance to get out and test it. I didn't get a chance to test the previous version because I was very busy. So this is, it's going really well. So far, I haven't had any issues with it here on this loop. There have been a couple long-standing issues that I've mentioned in previous videos. On that intersection was actually perfect. I don't think it's ever been that smooth before. It still has a problem with a passing lane at a left turn intersection. When you come up on a long straight road and there's a turn to go left, and there's a passing lane on the right-hand side of that long straight road, it wants to use, that shouldn't have stopped there, that was awkward. It wants to use that passing lane on the right as a driving lane, even though there's nobody in front of you. So the only time you would ever use that lane is if somebody was in front of you and turning left. It wants to go, even as you're driving straight and there's nobody in front of you, it wants to go into that right lane for the, you know, 200 feet that it's long, and then get back into the main lane. It still has a problem with that. As I mentioned before, it will slam on the brakes on narrow roads and allow the person coming by you to go past, even though you're on a marked road. So if there are no marked shoulders, but there's a marked center lane, it'll still, especially on narrow roads, it will still slam on the brakes. There's some small issues here and there, but overall, my FSD experience over the past few months has steadily increased into the "that's really good" category, to the point where I have fewer and fewer interventions and fewer moments where I'm embarrassed by FSD. I'm not really ever worried about what it's doing. I've never had a scary moment with FSD. It's taken over at the right points. It's stopped at the right points. It's done pretty much the right thing. But I've never had a perfect drive where I didn't think that had somebody been behind me, they wouldn't have been confused at all. However, that said, so far, aside from that one little hesitation, and that was a little awkward coming into the park there, but aside from that one little hesitation at the intersection and that entrance into the gated park, those gates probably confused it, this has been very good. I wouldn't say that I didn't intervene on anything, but I wouldn't say that those two interactions were perfect. So back into the battlefield here. This section is, in the past, historically, has been iffy. So far, it's fantastic. It's very, very smooth in the steering. It's still seeking a little bit left and right. It's not exactly bang on in the center. This is a one-lane road, or one-way road, excuse me. So it shouldn't have to worry about oncoming traffic. It still seems to want to be off to the right quite a bit, but it's okay. So the only other thing that I'm worried about on this interaction, or in this entire drive, I should say, is this bridge coming up. Now, I have had, in a previous video, I had the car sit at the end of this bridge. There's no stop sign. We have the right of way, and we're going to be turning left. But I've had the car sit at the end of this bridge and not move. Even after I nudge it, it just simply will not move. So we have the right of way. We should not stop. We're slowing down. It's looking it stopped. It did not need to stop. Now it's creeping forward. It sees that it's clear to go, and it goes. So, not exactly what it should have done, but at the same time, that's perfectly okay. There's nobody behind me. It's not a high-speed corner. It's not like we're expected to be maintaining a high rate of speed. It's a 25-mile-an-hour road, coming onto a really weird two-way stop sign with a kind of a blind bridge. So, you know, it's to be expected that this isn't exactly a perfect situation, so the car has to be a little bit more careful, but it didn't do anything wrong. It didn't do what you and I would do, but it didn't do anything wrong. And that's it. I mean, I think this is the best drive by far. It only had a couple weird things. The entrance to the battlefield at the gate, it was a little hesitant there, and there was a little bit of a hesitation at the main intersection in Sharpsburg. There was a guy walking his dog. I think that had something to do with it. But other than that, I mean, perfect. And we're slowing down because we've reached our destination. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of push it through. So yeah, I know. So other than that, I think it was a perfect drive. I would allow that to drive my kid around. So yeah, I think that we're gonna go ahead and stop here. Stop the video here. I thank you for watching. As I've said in my other videos, this is a hobby. I don't do it for any particular reason. I'm not making money on this. I don't get any again, the turn signal for some reason. I don't get any benefits from you watching this or anything other than I enjoy it. So leave a comment, ask a question, make some suggestions, criticize my cadence and how many times I say whatever it is. I will be making a new video hopefully soon on 11.x, because according to the that guy, what's his name? You know who I'm talking about. 2 weeks, right? Well, we'll see. Hopefully we'll get that soon. Oh, here, let's see what happens when this truck comes. See, it's coming to a stop. It does not like oncoming traffic on this narrow road. That's just weird. It's very awkward. The guy was looking at me like I was crazy. I can't really explain that. So there's still some room to grow. But other than those few interactions, again, nothing wrong. It didn't do anything bad. It didn't make any mistakes. I'd say it's getting there. So I'm very happy to see what this did, and I'm looking forward to seeing what the next major version of FSD beta can do. Thanks for watching.